has been well phrased in the session structure for this session. It's defined as follows. While most companies understand the value of quality strategies for their businesses, few manage to integrate quality fully into the day-to-day mindset of their business units and employees. And two questions are posed. What are the main challenges that we have to overcome when integrating quality across the operations of an organization? And are there any specific obstacles to achieving that in the UAE? Now, we have a splendid panel with us this morning. From my immediate left, Mohammed Jamil Bero, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the group into which Al Halil Bank of the UAE falls. Next to him, Lord Jamie Lindsay, the Chairman of the United Kingdom Accreditation Service. Next to him, of course, His Excellency Anas Al-Barghouti, Assistant Secretary General, responsible for the central testing labs of the QCC. And furthest away from me on the left, Badr Al-Olama, the Chief Executive Officer of Strata Manufacturing. I'm going to start, if I may, with Badr. And I'm doing this for two reasons. We started by looking in the quality infrastructure panel yesterday morning at Mubadala Aerospace and Engineering Services. And Badr, something very important emerged from that first interaction. I think Strata is now only 3 years old.
4 years.
We've now moved to 4. But already, you're the sole supplier of primary structures on Boeing and Airbus.
Yes, we are.
To achieve that in 3 years is truly remarkable, and I would have thought was testimony to fairly extraordinary achievement of quality. Could you tell us how you managed to do that?
Thank you for the good introduction, Stephen. So before I touch upon what we do in terms of Strata and composite manufacturing or manufacturing parts for aerospace, I wanted to share with the audience a little bit of context of what happens in Al Ain, in Strata, in terms of manufacturing. So there's a little bit of a 90-second video that I'd like to share with the audience.
The manufacturing process at Strata includes two main materials. The first one is called honeycomb. Honeycomb is light, flexible, but very strong. The second main material is glass or carbon fiber. When the technicians at Strata starts the process, carbon fiber, which is one of the strongest and hardest materials available, is actually as flexible as a piece of paper. Strata uses cutting machines with a simple blade on it to cut the material. Since it's so soft and flexible, this process is very fast. The Strata technicians then prepare the layers of carbon fiber in the form of a sandwich. Several layers of carbon fiber are made ready. Then the honeycomb is placed on top. Once in place, additional layers of carbon fiber are put on top, creating a carbon fiber sandwich. The technicians follow the same process in real aircraft parts for the Boeing 777, Airbus A380, A330, and many more planes in the future. The part is then put in the oven for 8 hours, after which the part is stronger than steel and ready to fly. Today, Emirates, Etihad, and many others are flying planes with parts made with pride in the UAE by the technicians at Strata.
So, a very short video. Thank you. A very short video that shows you how we manufacture parts made from fabric. This video, actually, we call it flying in fabric. Basically, the aircraft that you fly, the future ones, at least the 787 and the 350, almost 50% of the aircraft is composites. It's fabric. It's material. And when you talk about fabric and material, the opportunity for something to go wrong, whether it is dust, humidity, particles, the operator himself or herself that is actually trying to make those parts, something could go wrong. So quality, in essence, is ingrained in everything that we do there. And perhaps to measure the success of Strata today, we started off in 2009 with $1 billion worth of commitments from Airbus to manufacture parts for them. Back in 2013 at the Dubai Air Show, we signed up $5 billion of additional work commitments from both Boeing and Airbus. That is a testament that what we do in Strata, that the people that work in Strata today have quality embedded in everything that they do. Quality is something specifically for aerospace which we like to communicate with our staff is something that is personal. It is about me, it is about my company, it is about my country. And we cannot compromise on any of those three aspects. I had a very interesting interview at one point in time with a student that came and wanted to learn more about Strata and wanted to know basically how we manufacture aircraft parts. And these kind of things always start off in an innocent way. Yeah, we want to know more about Strata, we want to know how you make parts. But the big question comes up during the interview. Do you really feel safe that Emiratis that had no experience in aerospace, that a country that had no manufacturing track record in aerospace, that composites as opposed to metallics, that is very sensitive to the nature of manufacturing. Do you really feel safe that you're actually flying on an aircraft that carries parts made in the UAE? And for me to answer that question, I had to put myself in the shoes of the student. How are they thinking? How are they perceiving things? How do they assume quality is being managed in an environment such as Strata? And I asked the question, if you had something that was made in China, and again, this is no offense to people from China, but in terms of quality, would you buy something that is made in China, or would you buy something that is made in Germany? Simple question. It's a fact. I would go for something that is made in Germany. Today, in this time, we have Airbus planes that are assembled in China. We are actually flying on some Airbus planes, the 320s, that are assembled in China. If you feel comfortable with that, I feel comfortable with parts made in the UAE. Hope that answered your question.
I think it was very impressive. I only hope it means that you're not going to take a consultancy arrangement with the Chinese Quality Forum. Mohammed, I'm going to turn to you next, because I think if there's a single industry that in the course of the last 5 years has faced challenges of trust, accountability, and quality, it must be the financial services industry. Related to everything that began in 2007, 2008 in terms of the collapse of the subprime markets and then the collapse of Lehman Brothers at the end of 2008 and everything that has followed from that. Now, I know very well that your bank rose above and floated well above these particular challenges, but I'm really interested in a key question. How does one in the financial services industry today ensure that, one, the restoration and maintenance of trust based on demonstrable quality?
Okay, thank you, John. Can you hear me well? Look, Al Hilal Bank is an Islamic bank.
Of course.
And I think our quality comes, and the trust, therefore, comes from the Sharia principle. I think Sharia principle itself is a quality that will help us overcome the challenges that you mentioned. Actually, if you see globally, banks and conventional banks are moving toward ethical banking. And ethics itself is also a quality very well embedded in our Sharia and therefore in our financial work. I will not talk a lot about banking, but I'll talk about quality a little bit. I think there is a major change in the dynamics of quality for the future. And I'll talk about it from a banking and consumer perspective. You see, I believe that there will be a new breed of consumer coming in the future, expecting a different kind of standards and quality. Those youngsters today who are living and breathing technology WhatsApp, YouTube, the internet that we did not have when we grow up, will surely shape the expectation and the quality that they are looking for. I think it's going to be different. Today, these youngsters are using new vocabulary. They are using new gestures with the technology. We never did like this on our computers. Today, there are new physical activities that we do that is defining the way that people will behave and therefore the quality that we'll expect in the future. Our youngsters will not accept waiting in line to take cash from a bank. Our youngsters will not accept filling 23 pages. You know, today, they can serve the world, they can buy anything, very real time, on time, with zero errors. And I think this is the challenge of the financial industry, is to be able to reshape itself, really a full revolution in the financial industry in order to serve this new breed of consumers. I think I'm probably biased to the iPhone, but I think this is a very good example. When Apple created the iPhone, I don't think they did say, let's take a Nokia, or with all respect to all brands. They didn't say, let's take a Nokia or a BlackBerry and let's improve on it. I think they said, let's throw it out and let's redefine the way we communicate. And I think quality for the financial industry, for its survival for the future, must be thought in that manner. Quality, as Badr said, is passion. And without passion, we will not be able to achieve quality. And standards is the component to preserve quality. So you need passion for quality, and you need standard to preserve it. We, as Al Hilal Bank, we were lucky to start 6 years ago, just on the heel of the crisis. So we started from a blank sheet of paper, and we tried to embed quality in everything we do. The worst enemy of quality and the challenge of quality is to compromise. The moment you compromise, the moment you lose quality. And I think the challenge is not the 95% of the product or the service we provide. The challenge is the last 5% of the product that we provide. I'll close by saying I think we're blessed, truly, we're blessed that we're talking about quality and trying to implement quality in this country. I think quality needs a number of key ingredients in addition to your internal ingredients. One, you have to have leadership who believes and have a vision for quality, which we do. You have to have an infrastructure that also supports quality. And I would challenge anyone to give me a country that has a better infrastructure than that we have today. And I think we have to have conferences like this that can also promote quality. And I think we're very blessed that we are in a country that can implement quality. And if there is any place we can be successful in quality implementation, is the UAE. Thank you very much.
That deserves applause. Lord Lindsay, the one thing that we haven't really spoken about in this forum is the role of accreditation. We've spoken about quality, we've spoken about standards, we've spoken about the importance of certification based on the compliance with standards. But we haven't taken that final step in the discussions thus far to accreditation. Would you frame it for us against the backdrop of your own experience in the United Kingdom, and then offer any thoughts that you'd like to share in terms of how Abu Dhabi should go forward in that regard?
Sean, yes, thank you very much. I think there are certainly major challenges that arise when you seek to integrate quality throughout an organization so that it becomes a robust, measurable, and consistent reality. And if I can, I'll just deal with three of the principal challenges which I think are regularly faced. The first, I think, lands very much on the desks of senior managers. And it is with some justice, I think, because it's very often the senior managers who are making claims about quality without necessarily understanding exactly what they need to do to deliver that quality. I think too often in not just the corporate world, but across many organizations, there is a lip service paid to the delivery of a claim that is being made about quality. So I think the first challenge is that senior managers, top management directors need to understand exactly what they mean when they make that commitment that they are running an organization that is based on a quality product, a quality service. I think senior managers need to understand exactly what their own role is in terms of installing and instilling quality into an organization. They need to ensure that their own remits, their own roles, have a quality value embedded within it. They need to make sure that their staff equally have quality embedded into their roles and remits, and likewise with the structure and the operations of the company. I think that the greater challenge thereafter for the senior management is that they need to inspire, oversee, and remain responsible for the values of an organization or a company becoming rooted in quality. So in a sense, the first challenge, I think, is what do senior managers need to do in order to drive quality into and across an organization. And from that, I think, flows the second challenge, and that is how do they set about doing that? And whilst there's a number of tools that they have available to them, there is probably one that is more effective and more proven than any other, and that is the role of the quality management system. Quality management systems have been proven to be effective in instilling an ethos of quality across and throughout organizations. They are internationally recognized, which is another factor to their benefit. Quality management systems have, in recent years, been evolving. They've been becoming smarter, more intelligent. And interestingly, given the first challenge I described, there's an increasing emphasis in today's quality management systems on the commitment that is being made by top management. And I think the last point that needs to be made about quality management systems is that there is an ever greater choice and flexibility in terms of the range of quality management systems which are now available. The old regulars, as it were, like the ISO 9000 QMS, the 14001 environmental management system, they have been evolving in order to reflect new needs. You've got 17025 for testing and calibration labs, you've got 17020 for inspection laboratories, but you've now got a suite of new quality management systems which are available to organizations. Some of them deal with specific corporate requirements, such as business continuity, corporate governance, energy management, asset management, supply chain security, and so forth. But others are sector specific. They deal with the petroleum industry, they deal with the food safety, they deal with private security operations, they deal with event sustainability. So there is a real opportunity in terms of looking for a quality management system that suits the circumstances of a company that is looking to instill quality throughout its organization. So if the first challenge is, therefore, is what do senior managers need to do? If the second challenge is how do they do it, and that's the quality management system. And I think the third challenge is how do they know they've done it? How do they know they've achieved that integration and embedding of quality throughout a company? And here, really, there is only one answer, I think, and that's to use external verification by an independent third party. And for the senior managers to have confidence that that judgment by the third party is actually robust, they need to know that the manner in which that assessment and verification was made was competent, was consistent, and was impartial. And this really is the role of accreditation. It's providing that additional reassurance that the independent judgment, the independent verification that a company has or has not achieved a proper integration of quality can be relied on. And UCAS is one company that delivers that service. I was reminded of Dr. Steve Lai's slippery slope to quality when thinking about the solutions to these challenges. And Dr. Lai described the wedges that you need to put on that slope in order, as it were, to stop your staff going one step forwards and then 3 steps back. And I think the first wedge, therefore, in driving quality is the quality management standard, and I think the second wedge is to use accreditation to ensure that quality management standard has been properly met. So I do think there are challenges in seeking to integrate quality throughout a company or an organization, but there are tried and tested solutions.
Thanks very much indeed. I think that contextualizes it extremely well, and I think that recognizing that there needs to be a separation between the institutions undertaking the certification in the first instance and those providing the accreditation beyond that is also a critically important part of that element. Anas, I'm going to come to you as the person charged, in a certain sense, with the first order management in that regard, vis-a-vis standards that are actually being achieved in different areas. And as we all know, the standards that are applicable in measuring quality in respect of goods do not overlap entirely with the standards that we apply when we measure quality in services. How does QCC think about those issues at the moment, and what is QCC focusing on at this stage in terms of assisting industry and, of course, government as well, to embed quality in the organization and make it the common language that drives performance and success?
For those who weren't here with us today and didn't hear the QCC story, maybe there is some value in reminding some of the audience. We're a 4-year-old organization. We are active in all quality infrastructure aspects. We offer testing services. We offer metrology calibration services. We offer certification services. We're active in market surveillance. And we develop conformity schemes also in full cooperation with our natural partners, whether it's the Emirates Standardization Authority or the regulators of Abu Dhabi. Now, we're a council of regulators and industry. That's what we do. We enable the regulators of Abu Dhabi through the offering of quality infrastructure services. We have launched the EMI, the Emirates Metrology Institute. We have finished phase 1 of the consolidation of the government labs. We have added pharma testing services. We're going into construction and building material. We're also going into cosmetics, medical devices, as the priority of the regulators may be. Our role is an enabler role. Now, the focus in the initial phase was maybe safety and consumer, because we're naturally the advocate of consumers and safer markets. The second phase for us in the next 5 years, definitely we are working closely with the industries of Abu Dhabi. Aerospace, semiconductors, and so on. Yesterday we heard about Emirates Steel. We're supplying nuclear plants worldwide, ours in Abu Dhabi included. To us, as a council of regulators and industry, this is music to our ears. We are giving the world quality products, quality services out of Abu Dhabi. We're flying on airplanes that we build parts for in Abu Dhabi by Emirati hands. Emiratization, sustainable human capital in everything we do in QCC in this very critical setup phase is key success factor for us. We need Emiratis working in labs, in the metrology center, and in the management of this. We are changing behaviors, we are changing policies, laws as we go, and collectively working with our regulators. If we can test for something, maybe we can ensure that standards are being continually improved. Now, service versus products. I think 2030 is a clear vision for all. We want to give the world more products out of Abu Dhabi other than oil. We're a single product economy so far. How are we going to do this? We need to compete globally on performance and quality of products. QCC, just having organized this forum, having such a big audience, talking about quality-related issues in a systematic, integrated, holistic manner, the resilience of our financial services, we've weathered the financial storm, GDP is growing, 600 mostly Emiratis in strata, the council enabling the quality agenda is a journey we start. If we look at the German model, we better use the German model, post-World War II, the infrastructure was totally destroyed in Germany. Today, German products are, well perceived globally for quality. For services, of course, and systems also, we can include systems. This requires further collaboration to understand what is the priority with systems. You may find different regulators with overlapping mandates often that would, not competing priorities, overlapping mandates. For instance, personnel conformity schemes, right? Installations in Abu Dhabi. How are we going to implement total systems to improve quality, whether it's an energy efficiency related system or it's a proficiency system. So QCC is defining scope, inviting all the stakeholders, and through the market surveillance, through the inspection certification service, we ensure that such systems and products are ensured.
We have very limited time in order to stay on schedule this morning, so I'm going to open it up after that first round directly for questions. Could I ask anyone who has a question or a comment, first of all, just to raise your hand so we can get a microphone to you, and then secondly, to identify yourself and the institution of which you're a part so that the panel knows whence the question is coming. Any questions? There we are, I can see one over here.
Kevin Towler, BM Trada, a UK company with offices in the Emirates. A question really building on Lord Lindsay's point about the role of senior management and probably quality systems and their commitment to them come from the senior people. I would just wonder what the panels think about what happens when something goes wrong and you're on a close delivery schedule and you finally realize your product is not quite up to specification. That is a true challenge for the management of how they respond, how their systems kick in, because they've got all sorts of time, economic pressures kicking in, and how do they then start to stick and activate their quality management system. So you've got other pressures kicking in, and that's a true commitment to how you respond to your quality processes. I just wonder what you think about that.
Thanks very much. Badr, I'm going to ask you to take the lead on that one, if you would, because you sit closest to the fire. Badr?
So I have, there's a little bit of an echo, so I can't hear the question very clearly.
No, I was just saying I'm going to ask you to take the lead in answering that as you sit closest to the fire. Did you hear the question?
No, I couldn't hear his question. I could hear you.
I see. Now, his question was what happens when in this case, manufacturing process, one at a very late stage close to delivery, discovers that the product isn't quite up to standard? What do you do then? How does your quality management system kick in to address that challenge if and when that occurs?
So if I understand your question, is that how are we ensuring that quality is maintained throughout the manufacturing process? Is that your question?
Not really, no. It's more looking at what happens when you get right to the end and you found a mistake. Now, I know it shouldn't happen. In the ideal world, you say this doesn't happen, but reality is every so often you get to the end of the manufacturing process, or even providing a service, and you find something has either gone out wrong or it's been close to delivery, and there's some severe implications of what happens with that product.
So we have the five whys, and we basically try to identify the root cause of the issue such that it does not happen again. The issue that we have in our part of the world, and this is a question that is framed to me in many times, saying, why are we manufacturing parts using manual layout, people, hands, as opposed to machinery and equipment, whereby you could have a higher degree of quality conformity? And the way that I like to answer that is to say, if I haven't built the parts with my own hands, and this is again a chemical process manufacturing methodology that we use at Strata, I will never understand what issues are happening to the product before they're shipped out. So the fact that we go through this learning curve where we identify issues where we do have some, in certain circumstances, either air bubbles or delamination that happens to the products, and we fix them and repair them and go back to the original person or original team that has worked on those products to understand what went wrong. Why didn't it get manufactured correctly? Those elements of actually cycling back into the process to make sure that the learning curve is actually developing faster than expected, and at the same time making sure that the knowledge is embedded into the workforce such that in the future when we start working on new projects, the learning curve is steeper. We have had challenges. We've had challenges, as you can imagine, because most of the people that we do have at the moment, 40% Emiratis, have never been in a manufacturing environment, have never been in a manufacturing environment for aerospace. But the system that we do have, which is again regulated by YASA and FAA, where we have the EN 9100, we have third-party independent auditors that come and audit us as well to make sure that the quality aspect is maintained. Our own quality system, which I personally oversee and sign off on, to make sure that every single individual understands. But I also want to touch upon a comment that was made. In our context, in our environment, in our working culture, you cannot assume people understand a manual and lines and lines and lines of different instructions that you need to do. You need to communicate it to them. You need to make sure that they understand and link it to the importance of what they're doing. As an example, one way of where I ensure people understand that quality cannot be compromised in Strata is to link it to how they perceive traveling. So we say, your father, your mother, your brothers, your family, your friends, your sisters, your entire group or sphere of individuals that you've met may be traveling in an Emirates airline, may be traveling in an Etihad airline. You cannot compromise the safety of any individual, and it starts from the manufacturing process that you're involved in. So once it becomes personal, they understand. Once they understand, you can ensure that the quality products do come out of our factory. And again, we supply single source, so basically every individual aircraft around the world, doesn't matter whether it's Emirates or Etihad or British Airways or Air India, whatever it is actually manufactured in Al Ain with respect to the products that we're manufacturing.
Absolutely. Please, Mohammed.
I think the question is very, very valid and practical. And I think management across all industries, face this challenge or this question continuously. But the drive to quality is expensive. And management and shareholders must be aware that the drive to quality is expensive. And therefore, yes, you hold back this product and you only fix it and make sure it is up to the standards. And also, remember I said, you don't achieve quality if you compromise. So the moment you will release a product that you're aware of that is not below the standard of quality, I think reputationally and your drive to quality will be jeopardized. And I think there is a very good example. Today we're seeing General Motors and the callback that they've had. And I think it was probably because of a wrong decision that was made earlier by management by releasing a faulty product that is now paying very, so quality is expensive, quality should not be compromised. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mohammed. Just on, on that last point, it strikes me that in the period when Japanese manufacturing excellence was probably at its peak, one of the reasons for that was the fact that they had the Kaizen and Kaiban systems, which in fact allowed every single operator on a production line, if he or she spotted a flaw, to halt the process at that point. And it's a curious phenomenon. It appears to have got lost slightly in terms of new techniques, inter alia because of robotics. But philosophically, it's probably exactly the right approach in respect of these issues. We can take one more question if we're going to end on time. I have it over here. All right, we'll take one behind. I'll take both at the same time, but I can only manage these two. So let's get a microphone up here if we would.
I have one here.
And then get a microphone down to that one, the one furthest back, hand highest.
Yeah. Okay. After.
Thank you. My name's Andrew Swift from Intertech. And I'd just like to add a point to the previous discussion regarding quality and fail-safe, and pick up the point made by His Excellency Anas Barghouti as well, of the importance of world-class testing. I think it's clearly very highly interconnected with everything around product release, whether that's a pharmaceutical product or an aerospace component. And I think some reassurance about quality can only really be derived if world-class standards in testing are behind the release.
I'm going to take the second question, and then we'll respond to both from the panel at the same time.
Yes.
Is there a microphone back there?
Yeah, so it's okay. Good morning. You explained that you already approach different sectors. There are like steel industries, strata, and so on. My question is, where is the oil and gas sector in your plans and strategies?
I think you'd better respond to that one. It was about the oil and gas industry and where that fits into your plans overall. But let's do the first question first. Who'd like to take that first question?
The question is, where are they from? Quality practices?
From your perspective, yes. And who'd like to take the first question?
World-class testing.
Yes.
Well, I think all I can do is reaffirm the point you make about the absolute importance of world-class testing and, as you were, of international recognition of, as it were, the protocols that underpin the regime. And I think one of the great strengths that both quality management systems from reputable standards organizations like ISO or BSI and reputable accreditation from, as it were, national accreditation bodies like UCAS bring, is this ability to communicate and reassure across borders. You know, it enables confidence to be had between people who are buying and selling goods in different parts of the world. And you know, there is no better platform, as it were, to access global trade and to do so with a certainty and a confidence that it reaches a wide audience.
Thanks very much, Lord Lindsay. Anas?
On that very point, before I address the question, I think in QCC, in the Central Testing Lab, we're expanding the scope of the national accreditation, ENAS. We're working on an ever-growing accreditation scope. We want more quality in the services we offer as QCC, and accreditation is a very important requirement and an essential tool. Now, where is the oil industry? If I understood the question correctly, I mean, some ADNOC subsidiaries were represented in this forum. Where are they in terms of quality practices? I think the oil industry is one of the most advanced industry in the UAE. It's as old as the UAE. Quality practices are implemented, health and safety requirements are implemented. ADNOC, the national oil company, I can't speak for them with authority, but that's my observation as an Emirati living in the UAE, has very high quality safety standards, and we're one of the largest oil producers, exporters in the world. In QCC strategy, the focus was less about the oil industry because they're self-sufficient. They have enough quality practices at this stage, and we needed to focus on maybe more vulnerable stakeholder groups like the consumers initially, and now we're going to other industries. I hope this answers the question.
I suppose the wonderful thing about everything in life is that you have to focus on those things that constitute priorities at any point in time. And that inevitably means that certain things will get less attention that might be optimal, but nonetheless one deals in practical circumstances. I think we'll draw it to a close now. If I may offer you 3 thoughts that came out of this panel, I thought most decisively. The first one is that quality is a lifelong journey. And one of the reasons why organizations find it extremely difficult to be able to embed a sense of quality throughout the entirety of the organization is the organization is a living, dynamic being. People are changing, structures are changing, management frameworks are changing, and the competitive landscape is changing. So what constitutes quality in the landscape today is not, as Mohammed was saying, in the context of changes in technology and changes in the financial services industry, or as any of us know in respect of any of the industries with which we have great familiarity, aerospace and engineering services being a splendid example. The landscape is continuously changing, so the drive for quality has to be continuous. And it will only be continuous if there is a clear understanding, as Lord Lindsay said, of what constitutes quality, what we mean by quality at any particular point in time, what the responsibility for delivery of that quality is, and then we ensure that we're benchmarking ourselves against objective external sources to ensure that we're positioning ourselves effectively and competitively. I think the panel has done splendid justice to the issues that were put before us. Thank you very much for the contributions from the audience, and may I ask you to express your appreciation of our panelists.